Hey there and welcome to the Retro Channel. Today we're looking at replacement Commodore 64 power supplies. Now if you're just getting back into Commodore 64s or you've had one sitting around for a while, one of the biggest issues apart from age killing your Commodore 64 is the original power supplies. Now whether you've got wedge shaped one like this or the newer style brick or even the older style brick, they all share something in common, which is when they fail, they tend to destroy your Commodore 64. So a new power supply is definitely a good thing to be looking at. If you really insist on using the original power supply, at least use it with a power saver device. I think Ray Carlson originally built the first one, but there's also ones by Boak, which I think Mindflare Retro is currently building on his channel. So yeah, if you want to use the original, at least use it with a power saver device. The other option is building your own. I know Jan Beta has done one. I think he used a PSP power supply and a 9-volt transformer and sort of stuck it in a box and made it look nice. And I think Perifractic of Retro Recipes cooked up something similar. Also, Ray Carlson has some available. And there is another place, I think it's C64PSU, made by Retrowares, I think they're called, or Electrowares. They're also making up a new power supply which you can purchase. And then there's open source ones like Sven Peterson did bring one out. I think he's currently working on a newer model. So that's always of interest. But if you don't want to build something yourself, or if you're not comfortable with sort of smashing two power supplies into one nice little unit, there is a new one available from a company called Keylog. Now, believe it or not, they make keyloggers, but they've also started bringing out power supplies. They do have ones for the Commodore 128 and I think also some of the Amigas, but generally those power supplies don't tend to fail as catastrophically as the C64 one does. And yeah, there are a couple of different varieties. They do a longer, more rectangular one or a little square brick. But as you can see, there is quite a big size difference between these things. Anyway, we're going to open one of these up and take a look inside, take some measurements. But if you're not interested in that and you just want to know whether you should buy it, yeah, feel free to skip to the end. So here's the two different form factors that they come in, and I think you can get grey or black in either one. And they do have a funky little light on the front. I'll just plug this one in so you can see it. So as soon as it's plugged in, that light comes on. I think it will be quite bright in low light areas, so yeah, unfortunately there's no way of turning that light off, which is unfortunate, but yeah, it does look quite cool. One thing I did notice is it's not held in there very well. I accidentally pushed on the corner of this and yeah, it already has dropped in slightly into the case, so that's unfortunate. But let's open one up and have a look. Now, they do not have any screws on them, so it is pretty much a sealed unit, which was a bit annoying, and I'm not sure the reasoning behind it. Like, if the case was seamless, I can understand the design choice there, but there's clearly a seam around the case, so I'm not sure if it was to keep people from opening them up. Like, I can't comment on that, but yeah, it does seem a bit odd to seal the case like that. Anyway, I cracked one open. I've just removed the wires that go to the LED on the front because otherwise I'm probably just going to break them off anyway. So looking inside, originally there was a whole bunch of hot glue around each of the connectors on each end. Luckily, from playing around with paintless dent removal on cars, I know a good way of getting rid of hot glue is just spraying some isopropyl alcohol on it and that'll pretty much just, the glue will just sort of unstick as that alcohol gets into it. So yeah, I got the hot glue out of the way. There was a bit of an issue with the mains connector, and I'm not sure if it was because it was covered in hot glue, but yeah, the insulation around the mains wires frayed off quite a bit, which was a bit of a worry. So I've fixed that up anyway. I resoldered it, but it didn't happen to the other side, so I'm not sure if it was something to do with the hot glue. You would expect both sides to lose the insulation, but only the main side did. So yeah, it is fused on the main side, and there is another fuse on the DC side by the looks of it, and that one is surface mount, and this one is also through hole mount. So in order to replace any of those fuses, you would have to desolder them. So what are we looking at? Well, there's a varistor to suppress any transient voltages on the mains power coming in, which is good. We've got our 9-volt power supply, which is it's a Hahn branded power supply, rated at 10 volt amps, which is pretty much 1 amp at 9 volts AC, 1.1. And then we've got, it's a Meanwell IRM 10.5, which is a 5 volt 2 amp power supply. So these things pretty much will do the job. Yeah, the Meanwell power supply is one of the sort of cheaper ones. I mean, Meanwell's a good brand, but the power supply, there are other 5 volt ones that they make that have a bit less ripple voltage, and a bit higher rated efficiency. But yeah, we'll have a look at that on the scope and see what the output actually looks like. But apart from that, there's not really much else to see here. There is a bit of residue. I'm not sure if that's from the hot glue mixing with the isopropyl alcohol, but I'll clean this up and stick it all back together later. Yeah, that's about it. There's not much else to see. It does look very similar to the Electroware power supply. I think they may even use the same transformer and the same Meanwell 5 volt power supply. So I don't know if it's, I mean, I guess it's been inspired by theirs, but I mean, as long as it does the job, it does. I do prefer the look of this over the Electroware's one, in terms of the outer case, and the little light's pretty cool, even though, yeah, that popped in pretty easily, which is annoying, and because they're sealed, it's not going to be easy to fix that up without breaking the seal on it. Anyway, let's have a look at it on the scope and see how it performs. Before we bust out the scope, let's just have a look on the multimeter and get some basic readings. I think this is going to be our 5 volt DC, and we're getting 4.98 on the board. And if I can do this without shorting it out, oh, 4.99 at the connector. So yeah, it looks like a solid 5 volts at the connector, which is good. It means they've used some decent quality cable, so there's not too much voltage loss there. Let's have a look at the AC side of things. I don't expect to see anything too interesting. Yeah, 12 volts AC, which seems a bit high, but shouldn't be an issue. Obviously, that'll drop quite a bit under load, and yeah, the mains power that's coming in will also affect that. So in Australia, it's usually 240 volts AC, whereas it's usually about 230 in Europe, where these are from. But yeah, that shouldn't be an issue there. Let's get it onto the scope and have a close look. So we're going to have a look at the ripple voltage. I have taken off the normal ground connector that's on this and just put a short ground pin just so we don't pick up too much interference when we're looking at this kind of measurement. Yeah, let's probe it and find out. Right, so it looks like we're getting about 30 millivolts peak to peak voltage ripple, which is more than acceptable. I think this Meanwell power supply has a maximum of 200 millivolts peak to peak voltage ripple, so that's quite good. But that is unloaded at the moment, so let's load it up with a test load and see how the voltage ripple changes. Right, so I'm just going to load it up with about 6.6 ohms, which will draw about 0.75 amps from this. And there's some thunder in the background, sorry about that. Alright, so let's have a look and see. Yeah, 25, 30 millivolts ripple, so that's fine. So that's sort of it. I guess half load for an original power supply. The original power supplies are rated at 1.5 amps. This is rated at 2, so there's a bit more headroom there, which is good. Yeah, let's load it up to pretty much its maximum that a Commodore 64 would draw, which is 1.5, and check our voltage ripple again. Not getting a very good connection, sorry. There we go. So yeah, it's still only about 40 millivolts ripple off that, so that's fine. Let's just have a look at what the DC voltage is now. 4.85 at 1.5 amps, so that's perfectly fine as well. I better disconnect this before this resistor catches on fire. What do I think about it? Well, apart from it being sealed up tighter than a whale's butthole, it's a pretty decently made power supply. I can't really fault it there. I would like to have seen user replaceable fuses, preferably, you know, with something that you can access from the outside, but hopefully with a modern power supply like this, you shouldn't need to be replacing fuses at any time soon. Apart from that, the voltage ripple looks quite low, which I was surprised about. Yeah, I would like this to be a bit more securely mounted, because yeah, I did, like I said, accidentally push that in and it didn't take much force at all. If you're looking for a replacement C64 power supply, I think the Keylog one is definitely worth considering if you don't want to be putting something together yourself. Otherwise, yeah, there's Ray Carlson's done some, and Electrowares also has theirs out, which this looks like it may be based on, but whatever, the more power supplies, the more options we've got, the better, so that's cool with me. But as I said from the top, if you really want to use your original Commodore power supply, at least build or invest in a Sabre device to use with it. But if you're looking for a simple solution that you can just buy, I mean, this took about 5 days to get to Australia. I think these guys are in Eastern Europe somewhere, so you know, it's definitely a good option if you want to buy something and have it in your hands, you know, a week later or so, and for, you know, a decent price as well. That's one thing I should have mentioned. The Australian version of this power supply, so this style plug, Australian New Zealand style plug, for some reason actually cost $10 more than the UK, the US, and European plugs. I'm not sure why this was. I actually ordered the UK version because it's easy enough just to stick a power socket converter on there, because we pretty much have the same voltages anyway. So yeah, I ordered the UK version, and they actually contacted me because obviously it confused them a little bit, and they ended up sending me the Australian version anyway. I'm not going to say that, you know, go out there and order the the UK version if you're in Australia, and you'll end up with the Australian version. I don't know if it was a mistake or if they were just like, well, maybe we should just shut this guy up. But yeah, I don't really understand the reasoning why this one is pretty much 25% more expensive than all the other versions. If you're looking for a replacement power supply that you can just buy online and have it shipped to you, yeah, this is a good option from what I can see. And yeah, if you want to have a look at the Electrowares one and also Ray Carlson stuff, I mean, I'll link them down below. That's about it. I'm going to stick this back together, solder that LED, connect that back up, and figure out how to keep it together again now that I've cracked it open. But it was all to show you what's going on inside. I couldn't find any detailed information online on these things. They are relatively new to the market, so hey, I've done the work for you. I cracked mine open and given you a look inside. You can make up your mind whether it's going to suit you or not. I'm not affiliated with these guys. I just, yeah, wanted to see what it was like, and now we know. So as always, thanks for watching the Retro channel, and if you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe, like, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought. I'm always keen to hear your opinion, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.